accumulating and loading and getting these things out of the way so I can do some more. So y'all hang on, just watch. Y'all probably wondering what are we up to, because I didn't really explain at the beginning. We are rebaling, obviously, as I said, but we're starting to get low on the hay that we baled throughout the year. So because of the weather situation this year, as I've talked about many times, and we're having to rebale these to keep up our agreements with people, or contracts, whatever you want to call it, to supply people hay for the year. So this is how we're having to fill those. It's just part of it. Sometimes you have to do it. I hate doing this. As I've said, it's just, to me, I can't stand it because it's more money and time tied up doing these things. But the reason why, you're probably wondering, why aren't you using the Coon, and why are you using the Maxilator? And you're going to see me I think one time I had a bale miss or something that didn't go right. That happens sometimes. That's due to the fact that this case is so bobby. A lot of these 18 series, even if you got a larger machine, they're real tippy. That's the only thing I don't like about the case. I really like the loader. It's been a real good, reliable loader for us with that Cummins engine in it and everything. But it's really bobby and tippy. Even the larger ones I've ran, the same 18, like 50 or something like that, or 60s, they are the same way. They bob too, and I can't stand it. But the reason why we're using the Maxilator is because when you're unrolling this hay, I don't care if you're using an unroller or whatever you're doing, like an unroller in a barn, in setups like that, you still have the same problems. When these bales come out of the back of the baler, sometimes when you unroll these rolls, there's so much wads of hay come off, and it comes off real heavy on one end. It will suck into the baler real fast, and then it causes it to shove it straight through the back before the bale trip can trip, and you'll come out with a real long bale sometimes, or a longer bale than what they should be, or where you got it set at, because it grabs such a huge wad of hay. This is for New Hollands, John Deere's, Massey's. I don't care what you're using. It's just because the hay comes off uneven. You don't have that issue when you're baling in rows. It's just because there's such large volumes of hay when you're unrolling the rolls in one short distance area that it causes it. And it can cause an ununiform bale. The Coon system is really best for a uniform bale. They work. I mean, it works great during the regular year, but for something like this, when we're unrolling it and the bales don't come off the most uniform in the world, it probably would not work that well. I haven't tried it, but I probably could have used it on the day that we did this, but the last video I made, I could not have used it. The bales just did not come off even like they should have, and it's just a pain. And where it causes it on ours is because ours has the 10 bale turn at the bottom. Those bales have to fit perfectly inside to turn, and if they're too long, they'll kind of wedge down in there, and then it won't allow the trip levers to work just right. And that's where we run into with the length issue. But like I said, in the summertime, it thing works perfect. Once we got all the bugs worked out of it and it tuned right, it's worked really good for us. And I really like the Coon system. But for this situation, the Maxilator is probably my choice, just because I can work around ugly bale, I guess you could say, with it, and it'll work just fine. But I had stacked these in here the other day because this is our square bale shed, with the intent of rebaling these. I hauled them here from another barn we got, and I'm just going from here back to the pasture where we was rebaling these because it's right next to the barn because it was easier. And the thing is too, when you're rebaling, that not a lot of people ever mention is with that problem with it shoving a lot of hay through, you break a lot of shear pins. And again, this is on all the balers. I know a lot of our friends that we know, or people that has the unrollers, and I've been and looked at them, they have a lot of trouble with shear pins breaking because of the same issues on the balers. We break a lot of shear pins doing this too. I only broke one on this day. The previous video, I think I broke 6. And it's all in how the bales come undone. The only way with an unroller you can get by with it and it work all right is if you have one of those unrollers with a real long conveyor belt, and you can kind of pull it apart yourself before it feeds into the baler. But I mean, those things ain't cheap. And by the time you buy all that and do all that, you could probably just buy yourself a bale bearing and cut out all the extra time and money and labor you have into rebaling them anyway. So, I mean, I cannot stand doing this, if y'all can't tell. But it's part of it, and we have to do it to fulfill our customers' orders and stuff, and that's just what we have to do. But you're probably going to notice here in a minute that, well, one thing I do when I get to the end is that you have to do, if you've never run one of these grapples, I'll go with that first. When I set this on here, I always crisscross them. That's one reason why I like the 10 bale patterns, because it has I can lock each layer in, because you can, as you can see, I can take the 2 bales that's turned sideways, put them on one side, and then I put straights on the other side each layer, and swap each layer, and it locks it all in. And really, you don't even need straps unless you're going real long distances or wind catches it. As far as it staying on the trailer, they'll generally stay on the trailer and not come off. That's how good they'll lock in together, and that's why I like the 10 bale pattern so much. And that's why when we got the Coon, we went back with a 10 bale pattern like the Maxilator has. As you can probably see from here, these groupings have those spacings in between the bales. If you've ever wondered about that, I know I haven't really went over that before. You're going to see how I slide that over. I always do that with the tractor or the skid steers, either one. You can do it with either one pretty easily after you get used to doing it. You can't leave those spacings in there. That's from the bars on the Maxlator, or the Coon does the same thing. You have to pull those packs up tight. A lot of people just slap them to the side and drive up and hit them right quick and then grab them. I don't do that. I like to see here. I set it down and I backed up. That's because I didn't like the way it looked. I wanted to get them all the way over. That really helps when you're unloading, because if you don't do that and you get the hooks off just a little bit, they can actually, the bales will be over just a little bit too far and the hook won't center, and then sometimes the bales can drop off. And then it really makes it tough when you go back and you grab the hay to unload it. It really makes it hard to grab it. So it's always good to get those tight. Thanks for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.